We back. Anyway, I wanted to do a video on a question I get asked frequently, not usually so much online, but in person from students at various colleges and universities who I come across, especially community colleges. And the question that I get asked a lot is sort of what is it like at DVC? Or how do I run debate at DVC? What's it like to be on the debate team at DVC? I think is what they're trying to get at. And we've had a fair bit of regional success lately, and as far as the community college circuit, we've been pretty successful as well. And so I tend to find students who are at other programs and kind of experiencing the like grass is greener on the other side thing. And so I wanted to tell you what it's actually like at DVC so that you can have an idea and hopefully try and demystify some of the stuff because I know that definitely when I was a student, even as a coach, I've sort of fallen victim to this idea that like at this other school, there's some secret thing they're doing, and that's why they're successful. And I've heard all these crazy things like they do this kind of drill in practice that only they know about, or they have AI help them, or whatever it might be. And so here's what actually happens at DVC as far as the debate team. So at DVC, our practices are part of a class. So if you're on the speech and debate team, you're in a class. It's Communications 163, which is the class that I teach with the various other professors at DVC. And I am the co-director of forensics and the director of debate. So if you're doing debate, you're working with me. And this year, you're working with our assistant coach, Tanya Prabhakar, who's done videos on Proteus, who's going to be coaching at Western Kentucky next year. A bunch of other cool stuff. But anyway, bottom line, what the practice actually looks like, independent of the class, is we wrap up class usually sometime around 3 o'clock, at the absolute latest 3:30. And then we go find a random classroom in a hallway at our college that we're located in. And what I'm trying to say with that is we don't have a team room, right? There's not like some special team room or team building or like really nice facility that we're in. We are just in a classroom in one of the classrooms that happens to be open on that given day. Which is me saying that there's not like a designated classroom that we use for this. I literally walk down the hall until I see one of 3 classrooms are open, and then we go into that classroom. So this year, because we have 2 coaches, what we've been able to do is we almost always separate out into the varsity experienced students and the novice experienced students. But the only things that ever happen at a DVC practice are one of the following. On some days, and after the first sort of month of the semester, this is far rarer, but at the beginning of the semester, I lecture for a while. I'll teach people new concepts, right? Teach them definition things about debate, the rules of the debate, kind of how debate functions and all that stuff. And my goal is pretty much that if you've been to 2 practices, your next practice, you should be in a debate, trying to get people up as fast as possible. And so sometimes we have lectures. Pretty much all of those lectures I record and put on Proteus. So there's not like some secret extra lecture folks are getting that you're not, unless someone happens to ask a question. But what the vast majority of practices look like is we go into a room. I look at who's there because my students have very different schedules because a lot of them do different extracurriculars or have jobs or lives or whatever it might be. And I literally look around the room and I'm like, okay, well, are these 2 people who are debate partners here? Cool, let's have them debate someone. And if we have students who are of a similar level, which is to say like varsity with varsity, novice with novice, etc., then I'll have them debate one of our other teams. And we'll always, like 99.999% of debates that we do are parley. Before state and nationals, we might have done 2 or 3 practice LD rounds the entire year, like as a team. Not even like every person did 2 or 3. Like we don't practice LD pretty much at all. And so we just go and do parley rounds, and we watch those parley rounds. And there's different models that I have for this, but the predominant one is like stop and go. Like if you say something that's silly or whatever, or that needs correcting, I usually immediately correct it. Sometimes when it's closer to like state or nationals, I won't do that. I'll have you do your whole speech or even the entire debate before I give feedback. But my ideal model is like interrupting and correcting it sort of right then and there. I don't know if that is the best. It's just what I kind of got used to at Pacific, and it worked for me. So that's kind of what I do with my students because Steve sort of trained me in that way, and it was effective for a lot of us. And we do the debate, and then we sit down and we just talk about the debate. We give everyone their feedback. People wrap up. People head home. If we're lucky and we've prepared ahead of time, we will do 2 debates maybe. Or I'll be doing a debate with the varsity students, and Tanya will be doing a debate with the novice or more junior students in a different room, something like that. But the vast majority of days, you get 1 practice round in across like the entire team, or 2 if you're counting like varsity and novice. And so there's not anything really special happening there. We don't do drills in practice pretty much ever. The only thing that's kind of like a drill that we do, but is really still just around, is we do what I call perfect prep exercises. And so throughout the year, I'll prepare 1 to 3 debate cases on the AF and on the NAG on a topic that I consider quote unquote perfect preps. And all I mean by that is they are fully developed strategies with everything already written for you in a Parley style on just a Google Doc that I give to the students, and they can put it in a spreadsheet or they can write it down by hand. But the idea is to save us 20 or 25 minutes of prep, because my kids still prep all the time at practice. You just don't have to do that phase. You just have the case and it's all written for you. And I do some MG stuff or some MO stuff on it as well. But I try and design the cases such that the barrier I find with a lot of students is that they just don't know enough about strategy to write a good case, and then that limits their ability to exercise certain like tactics and strategies in the debate round. But if I give them cases that are like quote unquote perfect, where everything is there for them, there's diversity of strategy, it's internally collapsible, all of those kinds of things, then I find that the students are able to try to get out of their own way, and I get to see what their real level is. But that's it. We just do those practice rounds. We do some feedback on it. Maybe I do a lecture if something's been bothering me that I've been seeing in our rounds or in the rounds of other people. That's Parley, right? And that's the vast majority of what we do in terms of actual practice time. Now, for LD, me and Tanya do, I don't know, 95 to 99% of the cutting for LD. That's how it's always been for me. I think that LD is an event that has a fairly high skill ceiling and a lot of work, and I want this event to continue to exist. And so if that means that I have to cut files so that my students can use those files and participate in the debate and continue with regional and state level participation, then I don't mind doing that at all. But depending on the year, it's very interesting because this year with Tanya, who's way better than me at LD and has done the wiki stuff and whatnot, it was just a dream because I didn't have to do very much at all until state and nationals, and that was basically just like whatever Tanya wanted me to do, I did. And I prepared for specific students or cases, or like wrote new AFs that we didn't read until nationals, some of which we never read, period. But in most years where it's just me, I don't even start working on LD in any meaningful capacity until we get to usually around University Pacific's tournament. I try and generally tell Steve that, like, yeah, we'll have stuff so we can enter your tournament and make sure the entries are up and whatnot. This year we competed the entire year, starting from GGO, Golden Gate Opener, which is our first tournament every single year. And so LD is very much an afterthought for us. We find a lot of success regionally, and we find a lot of success at the CC level, but that's not because my students practice a ton with it. We just have good files, and I make sure they're familiar with them. I also think that because we generally only read one AF the entire year, other than like a few edge cases, my students have just debated their AF more than you have, and that is, good, because then come nationals, even when people start prepping for us specifically, it's like, well, people have been doing that all year, so we don't really care. And we almost always pick one of the more common sort of meta AFs, so it's not like there's anything secret to it. We give assignments to students at tournaments mostly. I would say most of my students' LD work doesn't happen during practices or between tournaments, but it happens at the tournament. Like, I just don't have enough time to do everything, so I'll be like, okay, you do this, so on and so forth. But that's about it for us in terms of LD. IPDA, I basically only have my students practice if they're juniors or novices, and if there's not someone else available to do Parley. I find that when my students practice Parley, they tend to learn what they need to learn for IPDA. Now, this year, our results in IPDA were a little bit down relative to our standard. I think partially that might be because I had less of a focus on IPDA. I think that could be because Reno's around this year and they're doing a lot better in IPDA. SAC started taking IPDA seriously. Pacific even did like a little bit, I think. And so regionally that was kind of a challenge for us in increased stuff. And then come state and nationals, maybe we're not the best at adapting. Part of the thing at DVC that is a challenge in this sense is that my number one goal every single year is community college state, community college nationals, do as good as we can, earn as many sweepstakes as we can for the team, help students win awards, get scholarships, all that stuff. But 90% of my year, I don't care about beating community college teams at all at debate, because we're going head to head with SAC and Pacific and LD. We're going head to head with SAC and UNR and IPDA. We're going head to head with Pacific and Parley and sometimes the other various schools around us, whether we're in SoCal, NorCal, or whatever it might be. And so to beat those teams, we have to be a technical debate team. We have to be able to understand the critique and theory and those sorts of things. And I'm not going to just sacrifice 90% of the tournaments in the season, just have my students get their heads kicked in just for the sake of state and nationals. And so we really don't start toning down our debate to be sort of more lay and persuasion oriented, more delivery focused until January, usually at the earliest. Sometimes, depending on where I'm perceiving students to be at, I wait until after February because that's when our regional championship is. And that's tended to be pretty successful for us overall. I guess that the main reason I'm making this, as I said earlier, is just that it's so easy to convince yourself that there's some secret thing that's happening at these other schools. But based on what I'm describing to you, I want to be clear that there's some of my students, especially the top performing ones, who practice on their own a lot, who do preps, who do rounds, who just talk to each other about debate. But in terms of how much time students spend at actual DVC practices every week, the absolute maximum anyone could possibly spend is between 5 and 6 hours because that's how long I'm there for. And so we don't do too much practice. And in those things, I almost never have the same students debate back to back unless people aren't available. And so realistically, my students get about 1 round, maybe 2 rounds per week. And that's not what I would like. In an ideal world, I would do the exact system that Pacific does and that I was kind of trained in, where 1 or 2 days a week we do 3 rounds and just get it in and get those reps in, because I think that's the most important thing. Now, ignoring the actual structure of DVC in the classes, the important thing to remember, and this is maybe the big advantage we have for a CC program, most of our tournaments outside of community college, state, and nationals are obviously coach prep for parliamentary debate, and I just think we have a solid prep room. I think that obviously I would just straight up say I'm very good at prep, elite at prep, I would even say. I think I'm one of the best prep coaches in the country, not even talking about community colleges, but just parliamentary debate in general. I think that I have Tanya this year, and Tanya's also cracked, and so that goes well. And also, just just straight out with you, sometimes at NCFA, when Tanya's not around or whatever, I can text and call Brenna, who are the best debaters in the country, and if they're available, they'll help me out, or I'll call Matt, Tomi, or whoever it might be, right? I have access to a lot of people. I can call Dominic Lasaka or Shita Sandaparthy, whoever who might help me in prep if I'm prepping 4 teams by myself. But sometimes it's just me prepping 4 teams. We just have an app strat, an egg strat. We kind of write up the stuff together. The varsity students are more left on their own to do things. But maybe the other place where there's the quote unquote DVC advantage in this respect is van rides. We talk a lot about debate during van rides, both to and home. I try and avoid that, honestly, myself, but my students have a lot of questions, and I like talking about debate. I'd rather sing karaoke songs with them. But there's, a lot of time spent in the van thinking about debate. A lot of good questions are asked of us by the DVC students. And I think that at the end of the day, it's not so much the structure that we have set up that makes us successful. It's just more so that one, we have very qualified coaches in all of our events, speech, debate, etc. And two, we've historically, whether it was Sasan who was here, me who was here, Tanya being here, etc., we've been very good at getting buy-in from our students and convincing our students they can be successful and that if they put in the work, they will be successful. And when we have those things, we tend to get fantastic results, right? It's very rare in any given year that we don't have one of the top community college debaters in the country on our team. And I think that that is a sort of marriage of having a mentor available to you who knows a lot about debate and can guide you through things, and if they can't, can point you to people who are good at debate to do so, and then just believing in them. And I say this because, at some community colleges that I know of, they have excellent coaches, right? And some of these community colleges have had students ask me questions before about how does DVC run, and they think there's some secret thing. And sometimes they have coaches who are at least as good as me, if not better. And I'm just have you tried asking this person questions? Do you believe in this person? Do you commit to doing work with them? When they tell you to do something, do you do it? Because if you did, it would probably work out. And so then the last thing I just want to say is that that's what it was like for me at Pacific, right? When I went to Pacific, I just believed in Stephen Frias. I still do, obviously. He's one of my mentors, but whatever Steve said to do, I was going to do. And there were some areas where I disagreed and would argue or whatever. But in the end, I always tried to have faith in what Steve said because I trusted my coach. And so I think unless you're at a program where your coach just knows nothing, trust these people. They're more experienced than you. They're almost certainly better than you at debate. And the grass is always going to be greener if you look at some other school. Like, I'm sure my students would do better if they were, at Berkeley or if they were at Western Kentucky, because the coaches there are better. They have more resources. They might have better like regiments and routines and all these kinds of things, infrastructure. But my students do well with what they have because they appreciate their coaches. They do the work that we ask them to the degree that we ask them, and like they ultimately decide how they succeed, not so much us. Like, it's obviously, it'd be great if everyone had a coach who had been successful on a national level or whatever, but you probably have someone accessible to you who you should buy into and give it a try. And so that's my thoughts. No secrets at DVC. It's all just what you would expect. And hopefully that encourages you to just walk in and do the work and get down.